So we're going to factor trinomials in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where the first coefficient is not equal to 1. Before we do that, I want to consider multiplying two binomials and see where this method actually comes from. So when we multiply these two binomials, it really is distributing a binomial over another binomial. So the 3x has to multiply by the x and the negative 4. And the 2 has to multiply by the x and the negative 4. And it's the sum of all those built terms. And you're used to seeing it as FOIL was the most common way of multiplying, that you're taking the first plus the outside plus the inside plus the last. So the first of both, 3x times x, is 3x squared. Outside is 3x times negative 4, which is going to be minus 12x. Inside is going to be plus 2x. And then last is going to be 2 times minus 4, which is minus 8. Now, we finished this multiplication by combining the like terms, and I can see that this negative 12x and this 2x are like terms, so they add to a minus 10x minus 8. So this is multiplying those two binomials together. So what I want to do is I want to factor this trinomial. I want to reverse engineer this FOIL method to be able to factor it. We already know what it factors to. This is the answer to that. So really, factoring is just the inverse or operation of multiplying. So let's factor this 3x squared minus 10x minus 8. Now, in order to factor this, we have to figure out what two binomials are going to make this true. And the way we go about that is to build possible first terms. So I need to know, for the two binomials, what two terms would multiply to be a 3x squared. Now, since 3 is prime, we know the first is going to be 3 and then x, and then the second is just going to be an x. You can see that 3x times x would multiply to become that 3x squared. Now, the order doesn't matter, because what we're going to do is we're going to change the possible orders of these two terms, and those two terms have to multiply to become this negative 8. So again, what we can see is that the 3x and the x is what built our 3x squared, and the positive 2 and the negative 4 is what built the negative 8. Now, we do have to make sure that outside and inside, the outside and inside are going to add to that minus 10x, and that's where this kind of guess and check method really comes into play. So I know over here these two numbers are going to have to multiply to negative 8, but there's a lot of numbers that'll do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to build factors of negative 8. So factors of negative 8, and we know that it could be 1 and negative 8. It could be negative 1 and positive 8. We also can change these orders, so it could be negative 8 and positive 1. And I can also change this order, which would be 8 and negative 1, to negative 4, minus 2, positive 4. And then changing their orders, we have that minus 4 and positive 2, and that positive 4 and negative 2. Now I grouped the numbers by switching their sign on purpose, and you'll see like a pattern here. Like if this one doesn't work, then neither will this one. Make sure I'm all in frame. Okay, so figuring out what numbers will go in there, we just kind of go through and check them. So let's try first a plus 1 and a minus 8. So we already know that we're going to get a 3x squared, and we also know that's going to come from the first. We also know that we're going to get a 1 and a negative 8, so that's going to multiply to become negative 8. We just have to verify what outside and inside become. So minus 8 times positive 3, or 3 times minus 8 is going to be minus 24x. And then inside is going to be a plus of 1x. And we can see that these things are going to add to these are going to add to a minus 23x, which isn't what we want. We want a negative 10x. So, those don't work. Now what we have to do is we're going to try the next ones. And we're just going to figure out what numbers are going to work here. So next, Let's try the -1 and the +8. So outside's going to be plus 24x, inside's going to be a minus 1x. And we can see that in this case, they're going to add to a positive 23x. Same number, just opposite in sign. So it's really trying to verify that if this one doesn't work, this is just going to give you the same number and opposite sign. So let's try the -8 and +1. So -8, +1. Now I know we did a -8 and a +1 before, but the order matters because in this case the 1 is being multiplied by the 3, and the -8 is going to be multiplied by the x. So it's going to give us a different outside and inside. So 3x times 1 is going to be 3x minus 8x, and we can see that we're going to get a minus 5x. Again, we're still looking for this minus 10x, which hasn't showed. So this doesn't work. We know if I do this, that's gonna give us a positive 5x, so I don't have to do that one as well. So now we try our +2 and -4, +2, -4. So outside is gonna be minus 12x, inside is gonna be a plus 2x, and boom, there we have it. There's our minus 10x. So this is gonna be 3x squared, minus 12 plus 2 is gonna be minus 10x, minus 8. So these were the particular factors that work, and those ones won't work. Now, we already knew that the answer was going to be this. It's just this is the method that we do to check this. So I'll write up another example on there. We'll do one more, and then try some other methods as well. So I want to factor this 6x squared plus 23x plus 7. Now, I'm using a positive number here because I know the previous way had a negative number, so those signs over there had to be opposite in sign. Now, for us to get a positive 7, you know, our lasts are going to have to share the same sign, either both positive or both negative. The difference between this example and the previous one is there's multiple ways to get a 6, well, to get a 6x. So we know that we could have a 6x and an x. And that's one way to produce a 6x squared, or we could have a 2x and a 3x. Now again, the order of the first don't matter because I'm going to be switching orders of whatever multiplies to become this positive 7. So if you wrote the 3x first and the 2x second, you'll still get the same two binomials. Whatever is paired with this 2 is going to be the same number that whatever is paired with this 3 would affect our answer. Okay, so now what we need is we're going to need factors of 7. So factors of 7. So our factors of 7 are going to be 1 and 7, and then opposite sign. Then we have to switch the order, so 7 and 1, and then opposite sign. What's nice again is when you do the opposite signs, if this one doesn't work, then neither will this one, right? Oh, they should be both negative. That's the only way to get a positive 7 is if they share the same sign. All right, so plugging them in. I'm going to do a +1 and a +7. Now we already know when we do first, we're going to get that 6x squared. That's why we did, 6 times x to get the 6x squared. And we chose the 1 and the 7 because I know the last is going to be, +7. That's what these are going to give us, right? +7. The trick is I need this to become a +23x when I do outside and inside. So, it's not looking good. 6 times 7 is 42x. And then 1 plus x is going to be another x. So this is going to add to 43x. So not quite 23. So this doesn't work. What's nice is if you do the opposite sign, what's going to do is it's going to give you a negative 43x. So I'll have to check that one as well. Let's try the 7 and 1. So 7 and 1. So outside is going to be 6x. Inside is going to be 7x. So that gives us 13x, not quite 13x. So I know this is not going to work. This is going to give us a negative 13x, so that's not going to work. So we can see that the 6x and the x that's not the way. So we're going to try this one. Let's try the 2x and the 3x. So kind of running through these again. Remember that we had the 1 and 7, the -1, -7, the 7 and 1, and then the -7 and -1. just running through that exact same list again. Let's try plus 1 plus 7. I already know the first are going to give us a 6x squared, and the last is going to give me a 7. But we have to see what outside and inside give us. So 7 times 2 is going to be plus 14x. And then 1 times 3 is plus 3x. So that's 17x. That's not a 23 we're looking for. This will give us 17. This will give us negative 17x. So let's switch the orders and see if that'll work for us. So let's try plus 7 and plus 1. So 2 times 1 is plus 2x. 3 times 7 is plus 21x. So we're looking good here. So 2x plus 21x is going to give us that plus 23x plus 7. So this was able to give us the polynomial that we were looking for, which means that this is our factored solution. So our this thing factors to that 2x plus 7 times 3x plus 1. Or if the order doesn't matter, remember that multiplication is commutative, so I could write this as that as well. So that doesn't really matter the order. So these are the factors, this or this.